Need parts now? O'ReillyAuto.com offers in-store pickup, same-day home delivery, or next-day home shipping. Get more parts your way at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real
Warning, this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And I hope you all had a Merry Christmas and all good times and all that good stuff, right? The fun time of the year. I hope everybody got what they wanted. Hope nobody got murdered and all that good shit. Because I can tell you one thing, as a detective, you were stuck on the holiday shift. You're fucked. The blood was going to hit the ground somewhere. Just the nature of the beast. But anyway, I hope that didn't happen to any of our lifers, and we love y'all. And hashtag justice for Haley. Y'all make sure to listen to our episodes and like and share. We need to get justice for our sweet baby. But today we are going to be continuing with the death penalty phase of Scott Peterson in the series Scorched. All right. So the death penalty phase, the prosecution gives their opening, and now they are going to say why Scott Peterson deserves to be put to death. And we're going to go through these witnesses, and it's powerful, it's emotional stuff. And at the end of it, ultimately what they want is to prove to the jury that this dude doesn't deserve to breathe. Okay. So how do you do that? Well, in this case, the prosecution starts with the direct examination by David Harris, the ADA, and he brings in Brent Rocha, right? So I'm going to do Harris and I'm going to do Rocha's voices to the best of my ability, but you'll be able to ascertain. So Harris says, Mr. Rocha, we've heard from you before. Laci Peterson was your sister? Yes. Well, I want to talk to you about Laci. Can you tell us in your own words a little bit about your sister? Well, obviously she was my sister and we grew up together. The judge interrupts and says, Mr. Rocha, do you want to pull the microphone? Okay, thanks. And Rocha continues, says, well, so obviously, like many households, we grew up together. We spent a lot of time together until we were quite young and got older. went through school, both got married, beginning to move on to the next phases of starting our families. She was a very energetic, outgoing person, just a very kind person. Really, to sit here and try and describe it is very difficult to do. But she was just like any of us sitting in this room right now. Harris comes back and says, "You said that you were growing up together. Were you older than Lacey?" Rocha: "Yeah, 4 years older than Lacey." Harris: "Well, what was it like to have a kind of a kid sister hanging around?" Rocha: "Well, just like in our young years, I think it was more, can be antagonistic, of course, but any siblings and not always get along. But as I think when we got older, we became much closer. And I think even as we got into our college years and more adult lives, we even became closer and closer and continued to be closer. So our relationship was improving and always getting better and better." Harris: "Now we have some pictures and I want to have those marked and have you look at them. Counsel's already seen them before." The judge says, "All right, we'll mark those next in order. How many photographs do you have?" Harris says, 4. Judge says 4 photographs, A through D. Now Harris begins again. "Mr. Rocha, I'm going to show you what's been marked 302A through D. Have you looked at these? Do you recognize these photographs?" Rocha: "Yeah. Family photos with Lacey in them." Harris: "And did they actually depict what was occurring in the photographs?" Rocha: "Yes." Harris: "I'm going to start with 302A. You can barely see it there. Can you describe for us what we're looking at?" Rocha: "Well, that's a picture of myself on the right-hand side, and Lacey standing behind the couch, and Ron's son Darren in the middle, and Ron's nephew Zachary on the left side." Harris: "Now, you were talking about Ron's son in the middle. What was his name again?" Rocha: "Darren." Harris: "And did Darren grow up as part of the household as well?" Rocha: "He was raised with his mother out of state, I believe in Oregon, but there was times he lived with Ron as well." Harris: "And looking at this particular photograph, it's a little bit hard to see right now. Is that a fairly typical of Lacey there with that big smile?" Rocha: "Yeah, she is a very outgoing person, always having a good time in all settings." Harris: "And you were talking about a little bit earlier about how you progressed in going through college. I know you've seen this picture before, 302B. Rocha: "Thanks." Harris: "This particular picture, is this a two of you getting a little bit older?" Rocha: This was during a Thanksgiving break. I believe we were both in college at the time, prior to the early 90s. Harris: "And again, we see Lacey with that big smile?" Rocha: "Yes." Harris: "Now you talked about how you both went off or you go off to college, and as things progress past that, you start to get a little bit closer. Did you go to a different college than she did?" Rocha: "Yes, I did." Harris: "Did you keep in touch with her?" Rocha: "We did by phone, and a lot of times during our breaks usually, I go down and see her in St. Louis Obispo. We stay pretty close." Harris: "And describe for us what it was like when you went to go visit your sister." Rocha: "Well, actually, it was really fun. She was my little sister, and I'm the born one, and she was the lively one. So it was really entertaining to go see her. She always, it's amazing when you learn when she moved away. Just as an example, we go down, and it was
one Easter down in St. Louis, and we went to a farmer's market. I think we did some wine tasting, and she just did all these different things I wasn't accustomed to, and we made it an Easter dinner, and it was just her and I. We probably bought $40 or $50 worth of food called papaya, and we probably ate 1/10 of what we could.
Hey ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC.
Over the last 75 years, over 10,000 chemicals have been introduced to our food supply. Yet the EU only allows 300 food additives. But at Thrive Market, we bring our members the highest quality brands and restrict more than 1,000 ingredients found at conventional grocery stores, making the switches easy with our Healthy Swaps scanner, which finds better versions of all your favorite pantry, snacking, and home essentials without the added junk, dyes, and fillers. Plus, it's all delivered straight to your door. So if you're looking to shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health, go to thrivemarket.com/podcast and you'll get 30% off your first order and a free gift.
It was just, she was just full of life and doing neat things and kind of teaching me a lot. Harris, did you enjoy spending time with her? Rocha, I did. Very much. Harris, as time progressed, looking at 302C, what is this picture of? Rocha, this is one of the pictures when I was married. She was in her wedding, so she was one of the bridesmaids. Harris, and you married Rose? Rocha, yes. And Harris, you got married to Rose. You said Lacey was in the wedding. Did you and Lacey start talking about having, both of you get married, having children, and kind of becoming parents at some point in time? Rocha, it was sometimes afterwards. She got married before I did. But one thing we've always talked about when we were growing up is it would probably be nice to have our kids at the same age or same time period so we could stay close as a family. Our kids could grow up together. I could send them over to our house on summer breaks, and she could send her kids over to my house on summer breaks. And so it's something we talked about. Now, my first child was born in 2001, and I know at that time she was interested in starting her family as well, for partly because of what I just mentioned, so we could have our kids together at the same time period. Harris, when you guys were talking about this, why did you want to have your kids at the same time? Rocha, well, it wasn't so much that we wanted to have them at the same time. It was more that we just wanted to be together as a family and grow up and just be together. Harris, And when you were talking with her about this, was it something that she was looking forward to when she found out she was pregnant? Rocha, oh, very much so. I don't think I've ever heard her be more excited than the day she called me to tell me she was pregnant. Harris, and why was she so excited? Rocha, well, one, I think the main reason she was having trouble getting pregnant. And I think she was just, thrilled that she was able to be pregnant because it probably crossed her mind that she wouldn't be able to. And of course, that was just part of her family that we were hoping to extend. So we were very happy about that as well. Harris, did Lacey ever take care of your children? Rocha, no, at that point before she was murdered. Judge, Mr. Rocha, excuse me? Rocha, am I too close? Judge, do you want to put this on there? It fell off. Rocha, good enough? Judge, I believe my clerk. Rocha, okay. My oldest son was probably just a year and a half, so he was quite young. She didn't get to, babysit him too much or watch him. Harris, did you and your wife and what's your oldest son's name? Rocha, Antonio. Harris, did you go to the family functions where Lacey was at? Rocha, sure. Harris, and what happened when Lacey was around Antonio? Rocha, well, just in general, she just was outgoing. So she didn't have a problem getting to hold him and being around him. But what was neat is you could tell she was looking forward to motherhood. When she would hold him, it was just so gentle and just a kind of precious, just the way she kind of looked at him and held him. It was a unique relationship. It was the first grandchild in our family. So I think she showed her love by just showing how much she cared for him. So it was kind of her interaction with him and Antonio. Harris, did it look like she was going to be a good mom? Rocha, oh yes, absolutely. Harris, can you explain that to us? Rocha, she was just kind of a kind person. She was a good-hearted person. She was going to be a great mother. She talked to my wife very often about her pregnancy since we just went through that. She was in our labor and delivery room when we had Antonio, and you could see her learning and expecting what she might be going through. So yeah, she was going to be a great mom. Harris, at some point in time, around Christmas Eve 2002, did you get notified that Lacey was missing? Rocha, yes. Harris, what did you do at that time? Rocha, well, I live out of town, so it's probably, I don't know, maybe 7 o'clock when I get home that evening, which was Christmas Eve, and there were several messages on my machine. So I believe I was playing the messages and the phone rang again, and I answered the phone, and someone identified me that Lacey was missing. I immediately went down to Modesto. Harris, what was it like when you were looking for your sister? Rocha, well, that night was just, you're in shock, and it's terribly cold and unbelievable, and you're in disbelief. Definitely you can't imagine you're actually going through this right now. Harris, the days go by after she disappears. You become somewhat of a family spokesperson to go out and deal with the media. Rocha, at times I spoke. I remember the first day, that next day I spoke, I took Mackenzie out so the media could see the dog, hoping that someone would recognize Mackenzie. And we were basically speaking to get the word out to hopefully find Lacey. Harris, did you eventually go out and somewhat plead for your sister's return? Rocha, yes. Harris, can you describe that for us? Rocha, well, it was one of the press conferences. We tried a lot of different techniques. I mean, we had a lot of community involved, handing out flyers, and Judge, excuse me, I think this has been covered. This issue is how the loss of Laci Peterson has affected his life. I think we covered all of this in the guilt phase. Harris, when you were talking at one of those particular press conferences, did you indicate something about feeling guilty? Rocha, see, y'all, that's just fucked up Scorched on the judge's part. He just should have let it go. It's not his job to enter. I mean, the defense could have objected. I mean, it doesn't make any sense for him to interrupt this dialogue that's going on. But continuing with Rocha. Rocha, yes, I did. We're having a press conference basically to plead to the person who was responsible, ask for Lacey's return. And I did express remorse for not being able to be there to protect Lacey. As an older brother, any sibling is raised to protect your younger sisters, and that's what I expressed at that press conference. Harris, you talked about there was community support. Was there an outpouring of help for the family? Rocha, yes. Harris, did this touch a lot of people in Modesto? Rocha, yes, it did. Harris, did those people show for their support for you? Garagos, objection. The judge, yeah, this is off the subject. The issue is the impact of Laci Peterson's loss. How has it affected his life? We're not concerned about the other people in Modesto. So y'all, I guess the judge fucking woke Garagos up. But that still was Scorched. And you can't blame Harris for, I mean, he's going to try to push the limits until the defense objective, which in this case was kind of Scorched. The judge interjected first. So moving on, Harris says, was there a memorial service that you spoke at? Rocha, yes, there was. Harris, and can you explain to us what it was, what you were dealing with, what you're trying to express at this memorial service? Rocha, well, just in general, one thing, even to be up here right now and to speak at the memorial service is obviously you don't look forward to doing. I'm sorry. Your question is exactly was how I'm feeling, or Harris. Let me ask another question. Do you miss your sister? Rocha, yes, I miss my sister. I miss her very much. I try to remember the good memories we have with each other, but I mean, they're overshadowed all the time with how she might have died, by who, and maybe her knowing that who did it. But I do miss her terribly. Harris, as the judge was saying, in your day in and day out life now, has Lacey and Connor's murder affected you? Rocha, well, I mean, personally, it's affected me in numerous ways. I probably can't begin to tell you, but I mean, you wake up in the middle of the night and you think about it constantly. I've been living this for the last 2 years. My kids won't have any cousins. Lacey was my only full sibling, and it's a big part of the family that's missing now. Harris, was Lacey usually involved with the things at the holidays? Rocha, well, Lacey was the person that coordinated the holidays pretty much for her family. So when you stand up here and say, well, she was like the centerpiece of our family, you're not over exaggerating. She's the one that did Christmas. She's the one that brought everyone together. And obviously, we haven't done that since she's gone, but she was kind of the life of the holidays. Harris, are your holidays different now? Rocha, oh, absolutely. We still have, I don't think we celebrated a holiday. We do it for my kids. We've gotten together, but it's awkward. Harris, you talk about her being kind of the life of the holidays, and I'm showing you 302D. Is that how your sister was around Christmas the last time you saw her? Rocha, yeah. I think I saw her that day earlier, and that day, or maybe the day before. Harris, if you had I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but if you have a favorite story that you remember about your sister and that you could share with us, do you recall one? Rocha, well, I think there's a lot of neat stories I could share with you. But one of the most sincere stories for me was when we got married. She stood up and gave a speech. And she welcomed my wife into her family. And she was just a really genuine person. And she meant what she said, and she said it from the bottom of her heart. That's how she was. She just really spoke the truth and meant what she was saying. And she was just really kind. She was kind enough to do that on behalf of my family. So that's the kind of always one of the stories that will stay with me. Harris, the people have no more questions. Okay, y'all, that's Scorched. It's always emotional when you hear shit on these, but that is the Scorched part of the judge having to interject. Fucking Gary Ghost was asleep, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. All right, so let's go to Amy Cherie Rocha. Y'all, this, instead of saying Rocha, because a lot of them have the last name Rocha, I'm just going to say the first name, okay? And then I'll do Harris's. So, Witness for the People, penalty phase, November 30th, 2004, direct examination by Assistant DA David Harris.
Need parts now? O'ReillyAuto.com offers in-store pickup, same-day home delivery, or next-day home shipping. Get more parts your way at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Harris. Amy, looking up at the screen at 30D, is that your sister, Laci Peterson? Amy, yes. Harris, was Laci older or younger than you? Amy, she was older by 6 years. Harris, so as the two of you are growing up, you kind of tag along for her? Amy, yeah, pretty much. Harris, can you tell us what it was like when you were young growing up with Laci? Amy, well, we spent time together at her dad's on the weekends, and I just always remember looking up to her as an older sister. She was always like a lot of fun to be with, especially when she had her friends over. I'd want to tag along and join with them. Harris, as you grew up yourself, did you want to be like Laci? Amy, yeah, I looked up to her a lot, yeah. Harris, how could you describe for us in what ways you want to be like her? Amy, she just taught me a lot, and especially as I got older, I saw how much she did for her family. And Harris, why don't you go ahead? There's some Kleenex right there. Take a moment. I'm going to have some pictures marked. And y'all, he puts in pictures, whatever, through whatever, and Judge agrees. And Harris continues, Amy, let me show you these 303A through F. Just look through these briefly and see if those are pictures you've seen before. Amy, yeah. Harris, okay, and do these accurately depict your sister in these photographs? Amy, yes. Harris, I want you to start to show you 303A. What do you see in that photograph? Amy, that's just our family. This is at Brent's college graduation. Harris, who are the people in the photograph? Amy, starting to the left is Sharon, then Brent, and my dad is next to him, and Lacey is below, and then myself, and then Brent and Lacey's grandma, Sharon's mom, is on there. Harris, and your dad's the one the cowboy had in the back? Amy, yes. Harris, when you're talking about growing up, kind of being a tag along. Amy, Harris, I'm looking at this picture. Would that been one of the time periods we're talking about? Amy, yes. Harris, showing you 303B. What do we see here? Amy, this is myself and Lacey and my brother Nathan. This is at Lacey's rehearsal dinner before her wedding, the night before her wedding. Harris, and 303C, is this another photograph from there? Amy, yes. Harris, the picture we see there of Lacey, that big smile, is that pretty much what you'd see on Lacey all the time? Amy, yes. Harris, tell us about Lacey's personality. What was she like? Amy, she was just very outgoing and always fun. She was just entertaining, like fun to be with. She just liked to laugh and just have a good time. Harris, when you say entertaining, I mean, did she like the life of the party? Amy, yes. And she did a lot of entertaining in her house, especially like our family holidays. And she would just have birthday parties and different things at her house. Harris, when you were talking about how you want to grow up and be like her, did Lacey like to cook? Amy, she loved to cook and she was very good at it. Harris, well, tell us about that. Amy, well, she could cook about anything and she would always try different recipes. And I cooked with her a few times and I didn't really do much cooking, just washed and cleaned up and acted like I helped. Harris, did she try to teach you how to cook? Amy, yeah, she would teach me how to cook. I was probably just watching most of it, but yeah, she taught me. Harris, did she like helping other people? Rocha, yes. Harris, did she eventually become a teacher? Amy, yes. Harris, was that something she seemed to enjoy as well? Amy, yeah, she seemed to enjoy it, yeah. Harris, let me show you 303D. What's this one of? Amy, this is a picture of Lacey's bridal shower, and I'm on the left, and my grandmother, she's passed away now, but she's in the middle, and then Lacey. Harris, now after your grandmother died, did Lacey kind of take on additional roles and duties in the family? Amy, yeah, she pretty much filled her shoes. Harris, what did she do? Amy, she pretty much just filled in and took over the holidays and made sure all of her family got together just as we always did with our grandparents. Harris, well, how are the holidays now that Lacey's gone? Amy, they'll never be the same. Harris, I want to talk to you about a particular birthday that you had talking about events. Amy, Harris, do you have kind of a favorite birthday that Lacey helped you out with? Amy, yeah, it was my 21st birthday. Harris, well, what happened on your 21st birthday? Amy, she just had myself and like all my girlfriends go over for little appetizers and drinks, and we all went downtown to have dinner. But she just made that birthday really special. Harris, how did she make it special for you? Amy, well, first she had like all her hard work into it and just made it perfect. And she did a great job. Harris, was that the kind of person that Lacey was? Amy, yes. Harris, all right, showing you 303E. It's kind of hard to see in that one, but who are the people in this photo? Amy, this is Lacey and myself at Brent and Rose's wedding. Harris, and it looks like she's there giving a thumbs up signal. Amy, yeah, I think it's just running around and dancing or something. Harris, would you say Lacey was fun to be around? Amy, yeah, a lot of fun. Harris, and you talked about what she did for you on your 21st birthday. Actually, just let me put up the next picture. 303F. Who are those individuals? Amy. Starting to the left, it's Lacey, and then Rose, and Antonio, our nephew, and myself. Harris. Did Lacey talk to you about becoming a mom? Amy. Yeah. Harris. Was she looking forward to that? Amy. Oh yeah. She was really excited. Harris. How so? Amy. I mean, she had everything ready. She was so prepared. Just going to her house. The nursery was perfect. She was just really ready and all planned for it. Harris. Does she seem to want to be a mom? Amy. Oh yeah. Harris. Now I want to take you to Christmas Eve of 2002. Do you remember getting called, being told that Lacey was missing? Amy. Yeah, I do. By Scott. Harris. What started going through your mind? Amy. I think at first I was just really confused, and I just thought, well, she has to be one of her friends over at her mom's, because there was a real quick conversation. So I just remember thinking, so strange, just being confused. And then I think I'll talk to maybe again, and I remember talking to my mom and my dad, and then after just getting more and more worried as like time went on. Harris. When Lacey wasn't found on the 24th, did you keep looking on the 25th? Amy. Oh yeah. Harris. Did you keep looking on the 26th? Amy. Yeah. Harris. And she wasn't found then? Amy. No, she wasn't. Harris. Can you describe for us how you were feeling during that time? Amy. Scared. I don't know how to describe it. It was just the weirdest, the worst thing you could think about. It was like a nightmare. Harris. at some point in time in April, did you find out that Lacey and Connor had been found? Amy. Yeah. Harris. Tell us how you felt. Amy. Well, it was horrible the way I felt. The way I felt was horrible. I don't know how to explain like I felt. It was like the worst thing. I mean, the worst way to find out. Harris. How did you feel when you found out your sister wasn't going to be coming home again? Amy. I don't know. I mean, I had to explain like how I felt. It was just worse. I mean, I can't obviously, we've had holidays without her, but I just can't imagine like the rest of my life going on without her. Harris. You miss your sister? Amy. I miss her a lot. Yeah. Harris. Do you miss not getting to meet Connor? Amy. Yeah, I do. Harris. Will you always miss having your big sister's back? Amy. Yeah. Harris. The people have no other questions. Wow. So y'all, the guilt phase of any trial is a real MFer, right? And what they're doing is painting the human face on Lacey, and as much as they can on Connor, more so on Lacey because that's the mitigating circumstances. That's not mitigating, but the aggravating circumstances, and what's going to be defined later on. But in aggravating circumstances, you're asking, well, they testified about this in the trial. They didn't get to testify about everything, all right? How they found out, or now they know he's guilty. But the aggravating circumstances are the effects that Lacey and Connor not being on this earth has on their life. Now, that's not going to be all of them. They're going to do the rest of the family, and then they're going to, talk about how Lacey was murdered and make everything else aggravating. So it's just important. I know it's hard to hear. You imagine if it was one of your family members and you're having to get up there and testify. And look, this fuckface is sitting in the courtroom the whole time looking at you. I mean, you went through 3 months of trial looking at what you thought was your sister's murder and your nephew's murder or grandson's murder. And then now he's been found guilty by a jury of his peers for both. And now you got to look at him and you got to get up there and lay it out to the whole world exactly from the time she grew up to the time she was murdered and what effects this had on you afterwards. So there's some Scorched things that happen, and we're going to continue with it next week. Very important. Thank y'all for listening thus far. And yeah, I do have some more information, new information on this case. Is crazy AF. And the reason new information keeps coming out is because this case is so scorched, but on both sides. And again, I'll tell you my opinion in the end. But I think it's always, I hate to say interesting. I always like to be in the courtroom. I think the courtroom is the greatest show on earth. Not that these people are putting on a show about their pain, but when you get to hear victims' family members give their testimony, paint the human face on the victims, it's powerful. And then, then you get to hear the victims' impact statements and you talk about powerful, right? I'll never forget Miss Stephanie on Corny Coco's. Holy smokes. And y'all, we're doing the case, #Justice for Haley now. And this family has been through every part of this except for the murder trial, right? They went through another trial for different charges on this guy. But they had to sit there and look at him every day. And there's more stuff. Y'all go listen to that. And then please #Justice for Haley on everything. And it's important that get her case concluded. Also, don't forget about Miss Barbara Blunt. I still get tips. I got something in today that I'll have to pass on. But always, you never know which tip is going to be the one that breaks the case wide open. And it's the last episode you're going to have for 2024, Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And so let's talk about LOPA real quick. LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency, nonprofit. They save lives every day. They help both the donors' families and the recipients' families, and they help them through everything. It's a hell of a process, but it's also a hell of a thing to see these people that are alive, and I met them from both sides. And also the families of the heroes who gave their organs to give somebody else's life. Nonprofit, we're always going to support, my jam. So Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency, be a hero, give the gift of everything, go sign up to be an organ donor. You don't have to be from the state of Louisiana. You could be from Melbourne, Australia. Go to lopa.org, fill out the questionnaire, give the gift of life and all the great stuff those people do. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And I hope y'all have a happy and safe New Year's Eve. And until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down on Murder Bayou. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real crime.
Over the last 75 years, over 10,000 chemicals have been introduced to our food supply. Yet the EU only allows 300 food additives. But at Thrive Market, we bring our members the highest quality brands and restrict more than 1,000 ingredients found at conventional grocery stores. Making the switch is easy with our Healthy Swaps scanner, which finds better versions of all your favorite pantry, snacking, and home essentials without the added junk, dyes, and fillers. Plus, it's all delivered straight to your door. So if you're looking to shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health, go to thrivemarket.com/podcast and you'll get 30% off your first order and a free gift.
Need parts now? O'ReillyAuto.com offers in-store pickup, same-day home delivery, or next-day home shipping. Get more parts your way at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Oh, 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 O'Reilly.